Typical day starts well before 9 o'clock, and it's just about a meeting on the hour every hour until I go home at about 9 o'clock. It's about a 12-hour day, and usually there are anywhere from 6 to 10 to 12 meetings per day. Some of them are statutory meetings like council or the committees, where you might be in that committee all day for 12 or 15 hours. Other times it's a series of 1-hour meetings with staff, with residents, with businesses, with applicants that wanted to build in the city, or else people that want you to support different initiatives in other parts of the city, because we don't just represent our ward, we have citywide responsibilities as well. And so it's a series of meetings where you're listening to competing ideas, either for the public realm or for private interest, and you're making sure that the public standards as well as the private opportunities are matched in such a way that the whole community benefits and that the city moves ahead while the ward moves ahead. There are politicians who are elected who are focused primarily on planning, some that are focused primarily on finance, others that are focused primarily on policing or security issues. Depending on the issues that define a ward or define a cluster of neighborhoods, you will get different people moving forward to speak to those issues. But it's the range of issues that the city produces policy on or delivers programs on will from ward to ward compose a different kind of candidate. So it's not atypical to see someone coming out of Scarborough who's intensely focused on transit and on housing, because those are two areas that Scarborough has extraordinary deficiencies in. Likewise, it's not unusual to find people with much more emphasis on development and perhaps economic development coming out of the downtown core, because those are issues that drive those agendas. Solving problems for people and solving problems creatively, because quite often solving a problem means saying no to somebody and saying yes to somebody else. Occasionally you can solve a problem where both people move forward, and when you can do that, it's a magic moment, and they all look at you like you're a genius. When you can't solve either person's problem, they look at you like you're completely incompetent. I think the work around Alexander Park and taking a low-income housing neighborhood, publicly owned but run as a co-op, moving it from having no idea where its next funding or its next development opportunity is going to come from, moving it from that to a complete revitalization and rethinking of the physical and social structure of the neighborhood, as well as the economic outcomes, and getting the neighborhood to achieve a plan, but not only achieve a plan, move it towards construction. I think that has been probably my biggest achievement. Yeah, I think that we haven't built enough bicycle infrastructure in the city to accommodate the choices that people are making. I think that we haven't figured out how to match revenues with programs and the physical needs of the city. You walk to work along Queen Street, or you take a look at the fountains on University. We're not fixing stuff as quickly as we should in the city, and we're certainly not putting the spit and polish into the downtown that I think it deserves or needs. I think that there are still buildings getting built that are not perfect, and my job is to make them as good as possible, not necessarily perfect, but closer. And we're missing on some of those buildings, and that disappoints every time we fall short. I didn't get into this job for the money. In fact, I took a pay cut to take this job. It's good pay. I mean, it's long hours, and you've got responsibilities, and you've got risks running for office. I mean, when you're out of a job, you're out of a job. But it's adequate. It wasn't what attracted me, and it's probably not what's going to keep me. We've had to make a few cutbacks in the family, but you know, if you can make a contribution like this, there are things you get back out of that which you can't measure in monetary scales, and it's a very fulfilling job in that way. So money was never the issue. I mean, as I said, I have nothing to complain about, but it's not part of the focus of why you do the job. If you're going into politics for money, chances are you're not going to get it through the paycheck. You're going to get it through some other means, and when you do that, you're in big problems. So it's not a job for the greedy. It shouldn't be. You're constantly in a situation, in a group dynamic, where you've got strong opinions and a lot at stake, and you've got competing opinions, and you've got you know, in politics in this day and age can be pretty tough, and so it can get pretty personal very quickly. So you're in a bit of a glass bowl, and you're in a glass bowl not just you know, as a goldfish swimming around. You're in with some piranhas and some sharks sometimes as well, and whatever happens on the front pages of a newspaper or the top story of a newscast, and so when you make a mistake, everyone knows about it, and that can be tough. It can be tough on the family. It can be tough just in terms of having private time. You can't walk through the city without people talking about whether or not you made a mistake or done the right thing. And so if you make mistakes, you certainly hear about it, and you hear about it all weekend long, and you hear it every time you get on a streetcar, and you hear about it every time you know, trying to pick up a pair of socks in a department store. It's just, you know, it's a tough part of the job, but it's an understandable part of the job, and you know it going in.